All right. Oh my goodness. Wants to do the green screen thing. Let me turn that off. I don't want a green screen today. What has happened to me? Ah, I'm disembodied. All right, there we go. Very good. Hello, friends. Let me get this live stream going and then we can get started. All right, we're live. Hi, friends. So it's been a week and a half since the last time we did this. And I'm excited to do it again. So this is Office Hours for those of you who are new here, haven't experienced this before. But yeah, basically I am here to answer any questions that people have about really anything. And let me actually just share my screen really quick. Share screen. So yeah, you can find the Office Hours page, kcdodds.com/office hours. And yeah, it's just the opportunity that I give to just anybody to come and ask me anything. Often questions are around my workshops like Epic React, or yeah, like any of these courses, testing JavaScript, Epic React, or any of these. Or they're just like general whatever. I'm just happy to be here and answer people's questions. The way that it works is we have a Discord community that you can join, and that's where I'm going to be posting answers to questions and stuff. And I sometimes will take questions from the Discord. So if you want, you can ask questions in here. And let me just find where the last questions that I answered were. It was a while ago since I canceled our last one. But yes, looks like right around right here is probably the first question. But I won't get to this if we just spend all the time in the Zoom. So if you want to make sure that you get your question answered, then you'll want to join the Zoom. And I don't do it like a ordered thing. It's just whoever's the most assertive, I guess. So yeah, with all of that said, who wants to go first? I'm guessing there are some folks here in the Zoom who have some questions. So
Hey Kent, I have a question.
go for it, Clark.
Uh, I am just really curious about what you're most excited about with Remix and what your thoughts are about it so far.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm really excited about Remix, in part because there are a couple of arguments. I just realized I have an app open. I want to close that. So I've been using Gatsby for a couple of years, and I was really bullish on Gatsby. I was really confident that Gatsby was the thing, and it was just gonna, that's what everybody should be using. And I knew about the limitations of static site generation and like you have loading spinners, but I always like chalked it up for perceived performance. You have this stuff on a CDN, it gets to the user like right away, so it's like super duper fast, and then they see a loading spinner maybe, but no big deal. At least they saw something quickly. That's what I always kind of convinced myself. I've now realized that is just wrong. And like, yeah, it's just very fundamentally flawed. And with static site generation, you have pretty much all the same complexities of server-side generation, like server-side rendering, because you have to deal with, windows not defined and, stuff like that. But you don't get any of the real benefits. And so that's the biggest thing I'm excited about switching over from Gatsby to a true server-side rendered solution. So the next common question is, well, what about Next? We've had Next forever and it's established and people love it. And I have used Next. It was years ago that I used Next, and it was great. There are a couple of things that and I should mention, because it's years ago that I used Next. I'm not the right person to answer this question of why Remix is of the different trade-offs that were made between these two frameworks. So. But I can say that a couple of things come to mind, and that is Remix has nested routing, which is pretty significant for a sizable application. Another thing that Remix does that Next doesn't do is every single page of a Next application is going to have this ever-growing build manifest that just continues to grow with as many pages as you have. which may or may not be a huge deal, but and there are a couple other things that Next has to do because of the way that it works, which just basically says to me that it struggles to scale because this thing gets bigger. Like as big as the site gets, this also gets bigger. Now, like I'm sure there are many people who use Next and it scales perfectly well for them, and that's awesome. But Remix doesn't have this problem. Um, Remix has a what I think is a nicer API for the rendering the actual, like, one thing that I really like about Remix is I have control over where my React components get rendered, both on the server side and on the browser side. So I'm the one calling React DOM render or React DOM hydrate, and I'm the one calling, React DOM or server, render to string, or I can have it render to a stream if I want to. Like I get control over that, and that's actually one of the things that I really like about Create React App is I have that level of control. Whereas with Gatsby or Next, I have to learn about their special APIs for this. And if I want to render the document myself, well, now I have to create this special document file, and I have to extend this document component class component thing. It's kind of weird. So yeah, I like the API for headers and the meta, like meta tags and stuff like that a lot better out of Remix. And the data loading story I like better from Remix. So one thing that's cool about Next, and especially when you pair it with Vercel, is you have that get static server props, whatever that's called. Like I said, I haven't used Next in a long time, so I may be getting that wrong. But you have that special method that you can say, hey, here's the stuff that I need for this component. And it's asynchronous, and they'll like generate a serverless function for that, which is really cool that they do that. The problem with it is it gets to that level of magic gets really confusing. Like, what if I define a variable inside the module scope? Who owns that variable? Because part of the code in this file is going to run on the server in a serverless function, and part of it's going to run on the client. So like, yeah, things just get a little bit complicated with that level of magic. So as much as I appreciate being able to co-locate my data requirements with the code that requires the data, it adds a level of complexity that I'm just and magic that I'm just not super thrilled about. So I really like the Remix Loader API and convention. I also really like that a Remix, it almost feels like a library more than a framework, where a framework kind of takes ownership of everything and you work within the framework, whereas a library enters in at the side of whatever you have, like whatever currently existing thing you have, and you just add it to your existing stuff. This is one of the things I really liked about React, is that it was able to fit into whatever part that you needed it to, and it didn't just take ownership of everything. And so Remix does, like, if you wanted to start using Remix in an existing application, you wouldn't have to rewrite your whole application to be a Remix app. You could have it slide into a certain part of your app and then migrate over time. And I think that there's a big plus there too. So anyway, Remix is super new. It's not even released yet. It's still a supporter preview, but I've been playing around with it, been really impressed, and I can't wait to show some of the things I've been working on, because it's going to be kind of fun. And it's also cool because it's the stuff I'm working on is not framework specific. So you could actually, I think you should be able to make what I'm working on work in Next.js. But Remix is making me excited about building new things, which I haven't been excited about building new things in a while. So I've been it's gotten me excited again. So anyway, that's just a bunch of words on Remix.
Thanks, Kent. Hey, is it true that we can't open source anything that we use Remix for?
So yeah, I'll just clarify that a little bit. So I've got, what did I call this repo? It is Remix blog. So this is what I'm working on right now. I'm trying to make I'm basically trying to rewrite kentcdodds.com using Remix. It's using Gatsby right now. And so I'm playing around with a lot of ideas. I'm actually using TypeScript, which is fun. I've used TypeScript in the past, but I haven't done it in a long time, so I'm excited to come back to it. But yeah, so all of this is remix stuff. You can come look at this, you can fork it, whatever. The only thing you won't be able to do is install it unless you have your own token. So you'd need to get a license, and then you can install everything. And yeah, that's literally all that the license is it gives you a token.
So we can open source our code. We just can't like actually let other developers install it unless they also have a token.
That's right. Yeah. And they could contribute to it as well. They just wouldn't be able to run it locally.
Yep, that
So
makes
you
sense.
could put your token in CI, have a preview. You know, I'm right now you can't deploy Remix to Netlify just because of some limitations on Netlify, but that's going to change. But eventually, or you could do it on Vercel. I'm pretty sure Vercel works. But they have their deploy preview, and so somebody can make a pull request, and then that could get deployed with Remix. Or on CI. So even if they didn't have a token themselves, they could just, that's not a great workflow, but they can still contribute. So. Okay, cool.
Just to clarify something, you can they have a link. You can check which code is server side and which is client side to know exactly. I sent it in the chat.
Oh, cool. Where'd it go? I need to mark this here. I'm going to copy this so I can get back to it quickly. Here's the starting point. Yeah, for today. Okay, there we go. Nice. Well, that's interesting.
The code on the left, it's your code, and the code on the right is what is going to ship to the browser.
Well, that's neat. Thanks for sharing that. Cool. Anybody else in the Zoom call have something they want to chat about?
I do, Kent. This is Bill Keller. Hi.
Hi there, Bill.
Hi. I was just curious, if you found yourself using multiple context providers just kind of stacked, would you look at that as perhaps a code smell of some sort?
No, this is a pretty common question. I'm never worried about that.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no performance implications. There's the only thing that people see is they're like, oh, that like looks hard to maintain, but you don't really touch that code very much. You do it once, you commit it, and then maybe somebody comes in and adds another one, but that's pretty easy, right?
Cool. All right, and I can quote you in a pull request then.
Yeah, totally do it. Maybe I should write a blog post. Like people will make these fancy components that like take an array of providers, and so you have one, and then it just pass all those because it doesn't matter what order they're in. So like technically that works, but I feel like that component just adds a level of complexity that doesn't pay for the cost of its existence. Like I don't see nested providers as a big deal.
Cool. Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Kent, this is John. Yeah, I have a question for you about testing. So I'll just paste it here on Discord. Say I have a component like this, and what would be the approach, or how could I ensure that my parent div of this component has the proper style that I set? So it has the correct height, and I want to ensure that this div style here has the proper height and the color and whatever. So.
Yeah, sure. So a couple of things or thoughts about this. So is there some logic around what styles are applied here? Is that what you're trying to test, is make sure that your logic is correct?
Yeah, in some case may receive these as a prop, so from a parent component, but in some other case, this is just a fixed style from a component itself, and this component is inserted into a parent component.
Gotcha. So your main concern is I want to make sure that the look of this component doesn't change for the user. Yeah. So if you're looking for confidence on the way something looks, then you can make assertions with just DOM, and it is to have style.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. So you could make an assertion that it has a particular style, but I think what is more true to what you're trying to accomplish is you want to make sure that it doesn't change the way it looks, or at least you know when it changes the way it looks, and you can decide whether that's a positive or a negative change. So what you're really looking for is visual regression testing, and a great tool for that is Applitools. It is free for open source. Oh, whoops, I forgot to provide a Zoom link. Let me grab that really quick for friends. There we go. Yeah, so it's free for open source, so you can try it out and see what it's like. It is obviously a paid product, but it's, and full disclosure, I've not used it. I've seen demos, and I know people who work at Apple Tools, and they're just wonderful people and very smart. But this would be the first place I would go. They have integration with everything that you're used to using. If you're using Cypress, they also have integration with Jest. So if you just want to send it up, what's cool about what they do is they take a snapshot of the DOM, and then they send it to their servers, and then they pull up that DOM in all of the like different browsers and whatever sizes and everything, and then they'll take the visual snapshot. And that is awesome because it actually gives you a little bit more confidence on multiple browsers as well. So you don't even have to test in multiple browsers, you just run it in one. Another tool that does something like this is Percy.io. And I know nothing about this tool other than when I bring up Apple Tools, other people mention Percy.
Okay.
So you can take a look at that one too.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Do you cover regression or this type of testing in testingjavascript.com?
Not yet. That's on my list of things to add, but that's not supported yet. Yeah, the testingjavascript.com. So I updated it last year and added testing node applications, and that went really well. And that was before Epic React came out, and with testing node apps, I actually had a workshop for that, and I recorded it like I was giving a workshop, and that was an experiment to see how that goes, and it went really well. It went so well that is the format I followed for Epic React, and that's gone super great. So unfortunately, testingjavascript.com, everything except for testing node apps is still following the older format of just like no exercises, just watch me do these videos and then apply what you learn in your own stuff, which is still really great, but it could be better if it was workshop based and exercises and stuff. So I'm thinking about doing a major revamp to testingjavascript.com that will include turning everything into workshops and exercises and everything. And when I do that, I'll probably include visual regression. So cool. Anything else? Anyone else?
Hey, Kent, I've got a testing library question.
Sure.
I posted 2 links relevant to it at around 3:41 your time.
Okay.
So I'm looking for a way to call fire event on a page that I'm testing, wait like 1 to 2 seconds in real time, and then call fire event again. There are 2 different approaches that I copied from the Jest docs to try and get that working, but I haven't gotten the test to pass.
Okay, so this is the implementation right here, and this is the test.
Yep, it's kind of like a text field where if you just press a number, then the text field the input will take that number's value. But if you press another number again within 1 second, then it'll be those 2 numbers put together. Like if you press 1 then 2, it'll be 12. But if you press 1 and then wait more than 1 second before pressing 2, then the 1 will get overwritten by 2.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I don't understand the use case for that, but I understand what it does. So very good. Yes, so fake timers is what I was going to suggest for sure. So that's what it looks like. That's what you're using. So I'm not sure I understand what is failing about this. Can you explain that for me?
Yeah, so what's happening is the final insertion is that one on line 112 that says expect the note input to have value 2. Instead of 2, it has 12, just like the test that it appears immediately before it. And the use case is writing guitar tab.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. Interesting. That's kind of fun. So I think this is probably the problem. This isn't the typical way that I would go about doing something like this. What I would do instead, let me see. I wonder if I can, no, I can't edit rats. Here, let me find, can I show, no. Browse files here. This is app test JSX. Okay, and then I'll come in. Oh, do you have this test in here? Is this committed? Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, so let me just edit. Come on. Is that in there? Ah, dang it. Is it in the note test? I just want to be able to type stuff. Let's
Yeah,
try
it's
this.
in the note test branch.
Okay, cool. Here we go. So this is what I would do. Yeah, we can get rid of all, well, not all of this. Basically, what you want to do is you're going to fire this event, and then you want to make any fake timers that are currently going on accelerate to the amount of time. So this same fret number cutoff time. So before you do even render anything or trigger this event, so triggering the key down is what's going to trigger the set timeout, right? I'm assuming that's what's happening.
Yes.
Yeah. So you need to have the fake timers in place before the key down happens. So we're going to move this up here. And actually what I would do is I'd put it at the very first thing in the test. That's just typically how I make that work. And then as soon as I do use fake timers in any of my tests, this is something else that I'm going to do. And I'll just show you in the Bookshelf app. I think it's in the setup tests file. I do this. So we'll add, I'll just add this right here. So what this is doing is I'm saying after each one of my tests, here, we don't need this to be async. I need to fix that. After each one of my tests, I'm going to check if we're currently mocking any timers. And if we are, then we're going to run all the pending timers. So just make sure that there aren't any pending timers at the end of your test, because there could be additional work that's just waiting to happen. And if you don't wait for that to happen, then you might be missing something in your test. So we're just going to make sure all of those things happen. We're going to put that inside of act in case any of those things trigger a state update or anything. So I'll bring that in here for you. And then we're going to switch back to real timers, because most of our tests should be using real timers. It's just less complex that way. And so this is just our cleanup, because we're switching to fake timers for this test. We're just going to clean that up. Anytime we have fake timers, we'll just get that back to real timers. So that's what this does. Okay, so we've got our fake timers. We get everything rendered, we trigger this thing, and now we've got a timer that is just waiting for this fret number cutoff time. So what we're going to do is we're going to say just advance timers by time. I think that's what it's called. I don't have my autocomplete to help me with that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Yeah. So then you can say, hey, I want to advance by this amount of time, or you could just say run pending timers. It kind of depends on what you want. Like, do you want to be confident that it waits a specific amount of time, or just that it sets a timer? I'm guessing a specific amount of time is what you want to be confident in. And so we're going to do advanced timers by time. And you just pass the amount of time you want it to advance by. Now I noticed you have ×2 here. Is there a reason that you're doing it ×2?
Just to be absolutely sure that it's bigger than the cutoff time.
Gotcha. So this should work. If it doesn't, then you could do a +1, but I'm pretty sure that this should work without needing the ×2. So from there, now you can just assume that all timers have run, all the callbacks have run and everything. And so we can get rid of this, and we'll just do, yeah, there we go. And that's all you need. I think I may have removed a callback. You had something for, oh yeah, that was just calling that. Yeah, so you're good here. So I think that should work. Does that help at all?
Yeah, I'll definitely give that code a try. Thanks so much.
Yeah, good luck. And I'll propose this change. It probably needs to be cleaned up, or there's probably something missing, like semicolons. So,
Appreciate it anyway.
Yeah, good luck. Anybody else need help with anything? Go ahead, Mo.
Hi, Kent. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I joined a little bit later, but someone told me that you did not have the chance to answer the questions in the channel, so I reposted it. It's mainly, I was looking at one of the examples people were using a use callback, use ref, and then passing the use callback in there. And I'm just wondering, why don't we just use the use callback directly instead of use ref? And I created like a sandbox example of, because it works either way.
I see. Okay. So you're talking about this one right here.
Yep. And then you pass the handler to the useRef inside the effect and to use it there. But I'm wondering, why can't we just use the handler and add it to the dependency array of the use effect itself?
Gotcha. Okay. So let's just get on the same page on what this use event listener does. So basically, it's a way to create a global event listener without having to do that all the rigmarole of what this is doing yourself. So actually, if you were to go through the rigmarole of doing this yourself, it would be a lot simpler. But the benefit of this is that you can create an abstraction, and so then you can put all the complexity in one place, and then it's just super easy to do this. The reason that it would be simpler if you just put this directly inside of the app component by itself is then you could put the handler function inside of the use effect callback, and all of the dependencies would be handled automatically for you. So yeah, just externalizing this to a hook makes it more complicated. This happens all the time when we're making custom hooks. Is sometimes we run into situations like this where you don't want to pass your own dependency array because then it won't be checked with ESLint, and it's not really recommended. But then you have the additional complexity. Okay, so all of that said, so let me just double check what your changes are here. So instead of doing the ref, you just pass the handler as part of the callback. So and it does work. The difference between your solution and what they're doing is that with your solution, the way that they're creating this this handler function is they're using use callback, and then they are passing this set chords function because it needs to be stable. So, and that's why it ends up working fine for you, because you include it in the array and it's going to be stable because it's using use callback. Well, let's imagine a scenario where I'm doing some additional logic in here and I'm referencing other props or other state variables or something. So therefore I need to include additional dependencies in this array. And because of that, my handler function is going to actually be changed to something else, it's going to get an update because the dependencies changed. So when that happens, I'm going to come down to your use effect and over to yours. I'm going to come to your use effect here. That's going to trigger a update of the dependencies here in this use effect. And so that's going to remove the event listener and add it over again. And so technically it will still work, but it's not optimal because for two reasons, actually. One, because we're now removing a listener and then adding another one. And if it is something like a mouse position, that could be really bad, like adding and removing very rapidly. So that would not be a good thing. But then the other thing is actually they don't need, in this example, they don't need to use callback. There's no reason to use callback here because they're doing this thing with the ref. So it's always going, this saved handler the saved handler is always going to be pointing to the latest version of the handler. And so we're never going to have a stale closure anyway. So they don't need to memorize this with use callback. So that's the second reason why using a ref is nice in this situation, because then people don't have to worry about memoizing the function. With your solution here, by passing the handler, you do have to tell people when they're using your API that yes, you absolutely have to memorize your handler function. Otherwise, you could wind up in infinite effect or a runaway effect. Does that make sense? Like, do I need to explain that differently?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One of the things that I try to add a console log to see if like that gets updated when I move the mouse and things like that. But it only happens once, so I think maybe that's what confused me.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd have to add some sort of additional dependency in here that maybe gets updated when you set the chords, like something else that would add a dependency to this array that does change. And when that happens, you'll see that the event listener gets removed and added again.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
Thanks.
Cool. Who's next? Or if we're all done in here, then I'm happy to go to the Discord.
Hi, Kent.
Hi.
Hey, so I just have a question. It's kind of related to the previous question he asked. So it's about the use callback. So I remember during one of the workshops in Epic React, you mentioned that don't abuse use callback. Of course, it's bad for performance, right? And also, I remember there's another effect that if you use callback, it kind of propagates through your code base, and it kind of results in a lot of other code being have to wrap with use callback, but I cannot remember what it is exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
yeah,
I can definitely talk about that. Can you tell me really quick, if you don't mind, how do I pronounce your name?
is Zheng Hao.
Jen Hao. Cool.
Yes.
So yeah, first of all, I just want to make sure that it's clear that adding use callback is not bad for performance per se, not in any measurable way, but it does add complexity, and that's what I don't like, and that's why I recommend using it surgically rather than just applying it generally. Yeah, and what you were talking about is once you start adding memoization, it has a tendency to spider out into the rest of your code base. And the reason for that is if we were to say, here's my thing, and it's an object that has a prop and a value, whatever. And then I wanted to use my thing inside of this, like a console log or just literally anything. Now, all of a sudden, because this is memoized, I have to add it to my dependency array. But now that's going to bust my memoization because this is being created inside of the function component. So it's going to be new every single time. So I just broke my memoization of use callback. And so what I have to do now is I have to say React use memo. And and of course it needs to be syntactically correct as well. And so that's the spidering out effect. Now, if this value came for props or something like props.thing, whoa, what was that? Yeah, so props.thing. Now I have to include props.thing in here. And then if that thing is not memoized, then I have to memo wherever that came from. I also have to memoize that. So that's the spidering effect that I'm talking about that you want to avoid. Now, I'll just mention one other thing about this before I stop here. And that is, if this really was all that you were doing, here's how you solve this problem. It's really easy. So that makes it nice and easy. You don't even need to include it in the dependency array anymore, which when you do that. So it's really only when you have a value that's being generated within the render function. If that value needs to be listed in a dependency array, then it needs to be memoized, and any values that it's depending on also need to be memoized, and that's the spidering effect. Yeah, we try to avoid that, but sometimes you can't, and you just have to optimize the way that you can. I've never had it be really that bad when I'm surgical about where I'm putting these these bits of memoization. And actually, React Query kind of gets away with avoiding requiring you to memoize a bunch of things by following the same strategy that we have with this use event listener, where it decides to change the default from calling the most recent memoized version of the function, and instead just calling the latest version of the function. And so what I mean by that is use query, the query React Query hook, where you provide your mechanism for going to go get data or whatever. That function doesn't have to be memoized because they always just store it in a ref and keep it updated to the latest version of that function. They don't care if it's memoized or not. They always just call the latest version of that function. And that way you don't have to memoize it yourself. So because of techniques like this, I don't really have to worry about memoizing a whole lot. I do it sometimes. For example, there is utils. I think it's in source utils. Maybe it's API client or hooks. I can't remember. Use client. No, use client. It's in here somewhere. Let me find it. Use client, and I'll explain why it is useful. It's in the auth context, of course. So I have this hook called use client, and here it's using the use auth. Let me bump that up. to get the user, and then we get the token from the user, and then we are memoizing this function, which is basically just calling our client. That's the thing making HTTP requests. And so it takes an endpoint and config. So it's like a wrapper around the client. And all that it's doing is it's adding the token so that we can make authenticated requests based on the user. But we memoize this because the function that we're returning from here is sometimes called within a dependency or within a side effect, a use effect. And when that happens, that function needs to be listed in the dependency array. And so this is like most of the time when I'm memoizing stuff, it's happening in reusable hooks like this, and it's not normally a big deal in situations like that. So that's a bunch of words about what you asked me.
No, it's totally cool. Thanks for the explanations.
Yeah, thank you, Zhenhao. Okay, anyone else here on the Zoom call? Okay, so I'm gonna go back up to, I pasted a link for myself. Where was
You're
it?
in the wrong.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong one. Thank you.
Yep.
It's like, none of these look familiar. Okay, it's right here. I can't even find my starting point link. And by the way, I have a tendency to answer questions that were answered by other people and answered perfectly well by other people. So if I start to do that, let me know so we can move on to the other questions. Okay, so Amada is asking, structuring a new app. Yeah, okay. So as far as like file structure, this is a really common question. I don't really have a solid answer for you. I know that Dan Abramoff made a really funny website, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically like, how do you structure files in a React application? And it's just this white page with the text that says, I move files around until I don't hate it anymore, or something like that. That's kind of my approach. When you're on like an enormous team and you're building a big app or whatever, you should probably use a framework. And that frame, like most, like Next.js and Remix have a conventional file structure that you just follow. Of course, there are like your shared components and stuff, but I try to keep things as flat as possible. I don't mind folders getting pretty big. I don't really worry too much about that. I also don't mind files themselves getting really big. I don't think that's a problem to just have a big file. What makes things complex isn't how big the file is, it's what is in that file that makes things complex. So I don't worry about big files as much as I worry about like complicated files. And those are different metrics. So yeah, if something's not shared or anything, I don't always feel the need to extract it to its own file. I certainly don't have any sort of ESLint rule that says you must have only one component in a single file. That's ridiculous. So don't do that. But yeah, I just kind of move things around. The bookshelf app is, I'm pretty happy with the decisions that I made around structuring this. So if you want to use this as an example, one thing that's really important that you want to keep in mind is you don't want to structure things in such a way that you're like, here are all my hooks and here are all my contexts and here are all my components and whatever. Like you want to structure your file system by feature typically rather than by type. That typically works out well. This was a big battle that we struggled through with in the AngularJS days. Everybody did it by type, and then we all learned that was a terrible idea. I'm kind of doing it by type in some way, but these components are shared components that multiple pages use. At least most of them are. And so that's why they're in there. But I typically just go with screens, and then you'll notice like on the book screen, I just put a couple like extra components in here. If this was like big enough and I decided I wanted to extract these to different things, then I would just put the components for this book screen in a book folder, and I would just reference those. But yeah, I'm sorry, that's not really, it's kind of a non-answer to that question, but that's kind of how I think about things. And that co-location blog is a good one. Okay, so And then here we have a second question. I'm not sure I understand this question. It's maybe a little too abstract for me to understand what's actually trying to be accomplished. We want to reuse this div. I don't know why you'd want to reuse it. So without more, like, this is not enough reason to make an abstraction for me. So without a more specific real world use case, I can't advise beyond if this is all that it is, don't do it. Don't bother making that reusable. Just copy and paste it. Okay. Oh, and thank you, Emmer. There I go, answering questions that other people do a terrific job answering things. Yep, and the bookshelf. There you go. Awesome. We have such an awesome community, don't we? We have people like Emmer who's just answering awesome questions. Love our community. We're great. By the way, if somebody is nice to you in our community, our bot has a thanks command that you can use to say thank you. Holy cow, we've got a lot of questions. Yeah, so send thanks to people because they're awesome. Okay, let me see if I can find where we were. Where the next question is. Okay, here we go. Another question. Oh, I see. Yeah, I just trust the default. If I sometimes I will specify, like, even though the default is row, sometimes I'll specify it just to be explicit, but I can't really justify that. So I just go with stick with the defaults unless you have a reason to not. I don't specify. Some browsers do have default values. I mean, CSS resets can help with this for sure. You definitely want to have a CSS reset. In any real project I have, I always use a CSS reset. I normally use normalize CSS. So if you want to find a good one, it's pretty small, pretty basic, but that's why I like it. So yeah, give that a go. Okay. Yeah, question about observables. So I have tried Rxjs one time, maybe twice. I remember one time specifically, and I was really bad at it. It was very confusing to me. So I can't really speak much to it, and why it's not used in React. I don't know. I can't speak to it. If you like it and you use it, then I'm sure that you could find, like, I know there are a lot of people in React who use it. It's definitely not a majority or anything. Most people don't use observables. I very rarely see people using observables in React, but I do see it. I don't. Yeah, I don't. Okay. Congratulations, Sunny, on reaching advanced React hooks. Okay, let's make sure that we're all looking at the same thing. So advanced React hooks, was that exercise 3 or extra credit 3? The use callback. I don't know which one that is.
It is the second one.
Second one, thank you. And extra credit 3. Okay, so this is making the safe dispatch. All right. Oh, yeah. So I've seen a couple people mention this. I haven't been able to reproduce it, but I'm going to try now. And it may only happen locally, so I'll get this up and running locally too. Advanced React hooks. We'll get this over here. And we'll get that started. See, I don't think I have anything on port 3000, but maybe. It's starting. Okay, good. So basically here, this is my fault. I've caused confusion. So when I was teaching this, I basically what this exercise is teaching you is if you do something asynchronous, and then when that thing comes back, you do a set state or a dispatch or something. That's a pretty common thing. You go make a request for data, that data comes back, you update the state. But what if while that request is in flight, you navigate away, or that component gets unmounted somehow, then that data comes back and that function gets called and it dispatches, and now that component's been unmounted. Well, you're going to get a warning. I've got a video on YouTube where I show this and I demonstrate how to avoid it with class components. But yeah, this is how you do this. Same thing with hooks. And yeah, so when I was teaching it to demonstrate that it worked, I would, trigger one of these and then I'd quickly navigate to a different page. So, now that I changed the way that these workshops work, and it was a major improvement in like error messages and stuff like that, but it did kind of change that specific thing. So I've got a video that on Epic React that I need to update it so that I don't show people to do that and then they try it and then it doesn't work for them. Because now, because it's an iframe instead of just a component that's rendered, when you navigate away, that iframe gets removed and it's like closing the tab. So React isn't even around when that request finishes. In fact, the request doesn't even get parsed by the browser or anything because it's totally been removed from the page. That's not what you do in real world. Like in the real world, you're going to navigate within the app and that request will get parsed and everything. So I need to, what I think I need to do is add a button or something that says unmount this component or something. That's probably what I'll do. And I could probably do that, or one of you could if you want to. But eventually I'm planning on just adding a little button that'll just remove it from the page. Yeah, so I've seen a couple people who will say that on this extra credit, if they click one of these and do what I did, that the page just frees up and is not responsive. That does not happen to me, locally or otherwise. I'll try it in Safari really quick, but I don't know why this is happening to other people. Or local host 3000. Is there anybody on the Zoom call that has experienced this as well? Oh, that's weird. Okay, let's try this again. Huh. That is, oh, okay. It just took a second. All right, there we go. So here we go. Try Pikachu, go somewhere else. Page is still responsive for me. Safari, I'm guessing Firefox is probably the same. So I don't know. That's the answer there. If anybody can figure that out. Not being able to reproduce something is the bane of my existence. I mean, it's the bane of everyone's existence. I'm sure many of you can relate to the pain. It is really frustrating. Let me just try it with Firefox really quick. We go Pikachu, navigate away. Yeah, still responsive. So I don't know. I don't know why that's happening, but I do know why it's it's not working the same way for you as it is for me. I did add a test. So if you want to have a test to verify that you're managing unmounting properly, I do have a test somewhere. Where did it go? Oh no, this is 3. So it's on O2 extra 3 unmount. So now we'll verify if you unmount. We'll make sure that you don't get any warnings on that. So there's that at least. Okay. Yeah, and the same issue on exercise 2 or extra credit 2. Yeah, I'm not getting that. Maybe I'm doing it differently, or we're doing it different from each other, but yeah, I'm not getting the same issue. Okay, cool. Moving on. Edmund, question regarding use effect. In the vanilla example, we use the here. Let's get to this. Everybody's on the same page. Here we go. And we want to vanilla tilt. I think is right here. Oh no, this is that right? Yeah, here it is. So this is the example. This is the isn't that cool? Man, I've been using this example for a long time, and I always get a kick out of how cool that is. I did not build that. That's a library. Okay. So we do this destroy thing to clean up the component. So it's when it's unmounted, we clean it up. If we omit the cleanup function, is there a way to check for the event handlers dingling? Yeah. So there is. Let me think of the easiest way to do this. So you can look at the DOM node. Well, okay. So the problem is, yeah. Let me see if I can figure this out. We have this event listeners right here, so you can look at all the event listeners. We can uncheck framework. I'm not sure how to really know whether these, because like there's literally every event has a listener, so I'm not sure how to really know for sure which one of these listeners is legit or the one that you're looking for. But I'm guessing that it's got a mouse move, probably. Where's the mouse move? There it is. Yeah, that's coming from vanilla tilt. There it is. Bum-ba-da-dum. So yeah, you can see that it's on there. That's cool. And you could run the cleanup and make sure that that gets removed. Actually, for the fun of it, let's do vanilla tilt, destroy. There it is. And now it looks like we have to do this little refresh thing. But if we do that, then we come down here. Well, here, let me bump this up again. And there it is. It's gone. So that's cool. So that actually works. That's always good. But let's come back. We'll get that rendered again. And here, let's just refresh. I think I busted something with that. So final, here we go, right here. And right there. There it is. Okay, cool. So now, like, how do you make sure, like, what if I don't clean up? How do I make, or how do I identify the problem that we're trying to solve, which is those event listeners don't get removed, and therefore the DOM node sticks around in memory. So I'm not sure if we can do this, but let me just try. Vart, DOM or node equals $0. That's a fun little trick. So whatever you've got selected is $0. And so now the node, we've got a reference to the node. So now if I say node remove, so if we just like pretend that React is unmounting this, we're going to remove this. Now it's no longer in here, but if we go node, we've still got access to it. And the reason it's hanging around could just be because we have this variable here. And so it's still in memory, even though it's not in the DOM anymore, it's still in memory, which is why this cleanup is so important, because you could have memory leaks. Now, I don't know how to find the event listeners on this node now because we don't have this anymore, but yeah, I don't know. So I guess that was a lot of words just to not answer your question, but hopefully it was at least sort of interesting. Yeah, it's really impossible to know for sure, because the only way that you can have access or find the events that are on a node is if you have access to the node, and if you have access to the node, then it's not going to get garbage collected. So really the whole point here is you need to make sure that any code that's referencing a DOM node or an object at all, any code that's referencing any object needs to no longer reference that object. And so that means you clean up all your event listeners and stuff, because the event listeners are referencing that DOM node. And that's why the cleanup matters. But it's impossible to really know for sure whether that was cleaned up or not. So you just gotta believe and hope. Now, actually, that's not entirely true. You can do. That's not performance. Is it audit or no memory? There it is. So you can do snapshots. Oh, and I've got a couple hanging out. That's kind of fun. And you can take profiles and just watch your app memory usage over time. I haven't done this a lot, so yeah, I can't really. I don't know. But here, we just took a snapshot. Let's take a look at that. That's kind of fun. And you can see what the memory usage of your app is, and see if that continues to grow, then that means you're not cleaning up properly. It might give you enough information to know what you're not cleaning up properly, but yeah, it's hard to, I've never used this thing. It's kind of interesting though. That's fun. Anyway, hopefully that was sort of interesting and whatever. Let's move on. Sorry, I just need to double check something really quick, make sure that it's not critical and important. Yes, I have an electrician who's coming to my house right now. That's good. I don't think that I'll have to leave though, but possibly. Okay. Hold on a second. Yeah, let me just do this. Okay, so that's fun. All right, let's see. All right, here we go. Ryan, this is a great question. Yeah, context module functions. Yeah, okay. So let me find, or let me open up, here, let's see. Advanced React patterns. So in here, the first exercise, or is it the first? No, no, no. Wait a second. This is in performance. Sorry. Sorry, wrong one. Let's just go get the right one now. React performance. So in the React performance workshop, I show a little technique that I learned. Is it the performance one? No, I can't remember. It's kind of a pattern and it's a performance optimization. So I think it is actually a patterns. Sorry. We'll get this. Don't worry. Here it is. Yeah, context module functions. So the concept that we're talking about here is here's a module. We do it all in one file just to keep it simple, but we're pretending that this is a module. We're importing some stuff. We've got some dispatch things that happen and whatever. And what we're providing in our provider here is the state and dispatch values. And then inside of our user settings, we're actually going to grab that user dispatch. And then in our submit handler, we're going to call this function called update user. This is what I just call, don't tell Dan that I gave this a name, but like you got to be able to refer to things. So I just call this context module helper. What is it? Yeah, context module functions. It's just the module where your context is, you put a helper function in there. And that will accept the dispatch and whatever other arguments need to happen in there. And that will manage calling dispatch with whatever you need. So this is basically a helper function. But what's more natural is to put this function inside of context, and then you can just grab that function from context, and then you don't have to pass dispatch. So the reason why this is not what Dan does, and here's the tweet, and this is why I teach it, is because I think this is a good idea, is for, I think he says it, code splitting. There we go. It's for code splitting because we can take this function and put it in a completely different module. So like if you've got some complex data logic going on and some async stuff, you can put this in a different module and have that be loaded in that helper function be loaded only in the module that or the part of the app that actually needs that functionality. Otherwise, this is just going to be part of the module. On top of that, so that's one reason why this is a useful thing, is for the code splitting. The other reason is if you put it inside of your context right here, then you have to start memoizing everything, which adds a level of complexity that I just don't like. And so by making it a context module function, just a function in the module, you don't have to memorize anything because this function can never change. It's defined once and it's going to stay that way for the lifetime of the application. So, so you don't have to worry about, if I were to put this in a use effect rather than in a submit handler, then I would have to include, or I'd have to memorize everything that I'm putting or getting out of context, just so that I can put it in a use effect, which is annoying. So, but all that said, I don't always do this. I don't necessarily do it this way, and I can show you just in the bookshelf app I showed you a second ago, or no, I didn't show you, but I looked at it a little bit ago for something else. Auth Context, I think is what it is. See if we can find it. There it is. So here I have my context provider. And here's my value. I'm memoizing this value, and I'm memoizing all of these functions for login, register, and log out. And so what I typically do is I try it both ways, or I imagine it both ways, and then I just decide which one I'm happiest maintaining in the long term. And that's how I make a decision about, there's a million ways to do the same thing. So you just choose the one that you dislike the least, or that you'll be most comfortable maintaining. So anyway, that's a bunch of words on that. Hopefully that was informative and useful and helpful. Okay, so advanced rank patterns, control props, exercise 2.
Hey, Ken,
Yes, go ahead.
could you share that code that you just put up from
Yes.
GitHub? Thank you.
I can. Here, let me just grab, copy this link so I don't have to scroll around for it. Yeah, and here, I'll just paste this too for the fun of it. And this exercise, this is advanced React patterns, exercise 1. So if you want to dive deeper into that, then feel free. Okay. Great. So we're wondering about how in the video I said it initializes state to an empty string. Yeah, it initializes it to undefined. That's correct. I think maybe later I add an empty string or something. I don't know. We'd have to watch it, but I'm not going to. Did I answer this one already, Mo? Yes, I did. Okay, good. Let's come back. And Vasily has been very helpful in my repos. Been awesome. Okay, so the fixed perf death by 1,000 cuts. Oh, we have 1 minute for this office hours, but I know that I have many questions that I haven't answered yet, so I'm going to keep going for a little bit over time. So, yeah, okay, so I remember seeing this. Yeah, okay, so I didn't really dive too deep into this. Let's figure out what's going on. So we've got performance here. Let's get rid of this one. And this is exercise. I can't remember which number it is. We will just have to look at the title. I think it's like exercise 6 or 5. Remix builds faster. Okay, there we go. Exercise 6. So we're looking at the higher order component solution. That one is this one. And the concern was that if you don't do the forward ref, then performance is better or something. There are fewer, fewer renders or something. Let me just take a look at these really quick. So this is, first image is with the forward ref, and the second is without. We see we've got a bunch of renders of those, but not there. And it's hard to tell on that graph, so I'm going to look at the ranked. Did he give me the ranked? Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, I think that's ranked. And without forward ref, wait a second. That sounds like the opposite of what he's suggesting. So I think I just need to try this myself. So this is with the forward ref. I trigger a render, and we've got the cell right there. Okay, cool. And I'm going to keep that up. We'll open another version of this page and go to 06.js. Final. Oh, wait, and we want exercise 3. And here in our higher order component, we're going to get rid of the forward ref and just do the wrapper. Here, and actually, I'll just copy this, comment that out, and there we go. Okay, so this is with the forward ref. This one is without. Oh, and we'll get rid of the reference right here also. Okay, so refresh. we go to profiler, we click on one of these and stop. Okay, so let me look at the ranked. Yeah, interesting. So when you don't have the forward ref, then you get all of the cells are rendering. That is weird. So his question was different from what I thought. From what it sounded like, he was saying, hey, when I have forward ref, then it is worse than when I don't. But it looks like the opposite is true. It's almost like, yeah, without forward ref, then they're all getting re-rendered. Now, I'm not sure why that is. So let's dig in a little bit. The parent component re-rendered, but who cares? This is memoized. That is weird. Let me just look at this. So we got our, here, let's select this one. Here we go. So we've got a cell, and that's memoized, and with state sliced. And then this one is memoized also. Let's just compare really quick. Same story over here. I wonder, do I have, no, I'm not filtering anything. Yeah, I don't know. That really shouldn't make any difference. Huh. We're not passing a ref to the cell. Here, let me double check the app grid component. We have the cell. Yeah, we just pass a key, row, column. Huh, that's interesting. This key is wrong. It's way wrong. That key should be a combination of the row and the column. Whoops. I'm not sure why we're not getting a key warning though. That's weird. I doubt that's going to make a difference, but let's just try. Who knows? Oh, wait. No, that's fine. So here, let's keep that up. Yeah, I doubt this is going to make any difference here. Yeah, no difference. So yeah, I don't know. I'm totally stumped. So if anybody wants to figure that out, that would be I'd love to learn why that is. That's super weird. Okay, sorry, that is a little anticlimactic when I don't know the answer, but I don't know. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so here we go. This is from George. I can't pronounce George's name, but I'm guessing it's George because that's the username. But okay, opinions on higher order components. Great. Becoming irrelevant, specify downsides of using HOCs over hooks. There is a great talk about this from Michael Jackson, not the king of music, but the king of React. Render props HOC something something. Never write another HOC. He describes all of the problems with higher order components. And this was back in 2017. That was a year before, was that just 1 year? Yeah, 1 year before hooks was released to the world. And so he's here, and actually I'm gonna just mention George here. Here's a link to answer your question about HOCs. Yeah, so his argument is don't use HOCs, use render props instead. But what's awesome is that hooks came out and now we don't need render props most of the time either. And I have written a blog post about this. So hooks and render props. So there is still a use case for render props sometimes, but most of the time you should just use hooks. So we went from HOCs to render props and now hooks. You don't need HOCs. It's funny that I'm answering this question right after this last one because this is an HOC. And so I do teach you how to write an HOC, higher order component, but I don't recommend doing it most of the time. It's only useful sometimes. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna really say about that. just go watch his video. He does a great job explaining why. Okay. And Andrew, I answered your question. So
Yes, but I
awesome.
actually tried it and it doesn't work, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Well, can you tell me more? Let's figure out what's going on. If you have links to give me, then that would be cool too.
I mean, it's really the same. The material's the same. I'm still getting 12 in the assertion instead of 2. I feel like the only new material I could really provide is a link to the app so you can see how it's supposed to behave. But I don't know if that's really helpful right now.
Yeah, I think I have an idea of what it's supposed to do. So let me look at it again. Not sure that I'll be able to provide a whole lot more value than I did earlier without actually digging in. And I'm normally happy to do that, except we don't have a lot of time left. So what I would recommend doing is somewhere here, you're doing a set timeout, I'm guessing. Set timeout. How are you delaying this? Where's the delay happening?
So I'm keeping track of the most recent time that a number was inputted in state. It's in, Fred input time.
Oh, I see. So, but what, yeah, okay. So then.
So it's in the object on line 532. So that's the logic is like, so if more time has passed than our maximum allowable cutoff, then we'll add a note with like 12 instead of 2. Otherwise, we'll add 2.
Gotcha. Okay, I think I know the solution. So I think that depending on the version of Jest you're using, do you know what version of Jest you're using?
No idea.
Are you using Create React app?
Yes.
Are you on the latest version, 4.0?
Yeah, I upgraded yesterday.
Good on ya. So the latest version of Jest is in there, and I'm not sure, but I think that they're still, so now that they actually have 2 versions of fake timers, and they're still, here, actually, let me see. I've got my pull request right here. I can update. Oh, did you close it? Here, I can take a look.
Yeah, I was in such a hurry to get.
Oh, you merged it. Nice. Okay, so here's what I'll just fix it right here. Oh, wait, where's the suggestion thing? I can't do suggestion? What? That's weird. Probably because you merged it already. That's all right. This needs to change to this. I'm pretty sure that'll do it. So
that's specific to Create React App 4?
It's specific to Jest version 26, I think. Yeah, let's see, Jest blog. They released this pretty recently. Yeah, TikTok, that's because the modern timers. Yeah, so it's opt-in right now. You have to opt in to modern timers. And the reason why legacy timers don't work is because they do not manage date.now, which is what you're using. I lost it. But anyway, I think that if you change it to modern, that should work. If it doesn't, then we'll have to do this another time where you can do screen share and we can figure out what's going on. So hopefully that works for you.
All right. Yeah. Thanks again.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So George is wondering. Oh yeah, and I forgot to grab a YouTube link. So I'll grab that really quick for my current stream. Am I not streaming? What? Uh-oh. I thought this was live. Hold on a second. Manage live streams. This should be live. I hope it's live. I hope it's recorded. It's not. What happened? Dang it. So many questions were answered that nobody will ever see. That stinks. Oh, well. I'll just have to ask again, I guess. Dang it. Zoom, what is wrong with you? All right, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, no live stream. I'll just chat that right now. Unfortunately, we don't get a recording because Zoom and YouTube weren't cooperating. Sorry. Yeah, just now realized this. Bummer. Okay, so that stinks. Let's see what else. Where are we at? George, are you in here? I don't know if George is even in here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. Oh, Zhenhao. Okay, great. I'm so glad that that I'm, because I know you've been waiting forever, and I felt bad about that. I was thinking about you this morning. I was like, I'm finally gonna be able to answer George's question, but you're not George. You're Zhenhao. Is that? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you're really, really close. Thanks.
Very close. Okay, I try
Thanks.
to. People's names are important. So yeah, I'll tell you my opinion. I'm so glad that you're here. I'll tell you my opinion on Formic. So let me just give a little bit of context. I have done a lot of forms for the web. This is the right one, right? Yeah. Okay. I've done a lot of forms for the web. With AngularJS, I was just building so many CRUD apps with tons of forms, and I built Angular formally, which was, well, I didn't build it. I adopted it and then became the maintainer for a couple of years, and it was awesome. And it still is the most popular forms library for AngularJS. So I have experience with forms, but when I switched over to React, I started building less forms heavy applications and more like state complicated things and stuff like that. Lots of, yeah, interesting things in that way. So I haven't done a whole lot with forms in React, like at least to the point where I'm like, I need an abstraction for this. Like the basic forms APIs were enough for me, just raw from React. So all of that said, I have used Formic before, and it was okay. It was fine. I don't have too many complaints with the limited use case that I had. But if I were to go with forms today, if I needed to go use something today, React Hook Form is what I would use, or what I would start with. Maybe I wouldn't be happy with it because every time I come to this website, their service worker gets an update and they alert me, and I hate that. But I mean, their website is pretty slick. I like their site. It's awesome. But yeah, I'm really impressed by the API, and smart people have told me that they love it. So, I mean, a smart person built Formic too. So I don't know. But this is what I would try first. And that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Hey,
I
Kent,
think,
adding modern into the use fake timers made the test pass. So thank you so much.
yes. Hallelujah. Very good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for reporting back. Good. That is satisfying. Good luck on everything. Oh, my son's looking at me through the window because I left the window open. 1 second. Hey, sorry, I'm on the. Oh, that wasn't very nice. So what did you do? Yeah. Well, did he apologize? No. Hey, Adam, could you apologize? Yeah. Well, you know, he does like to play with people, and I think it's if you can find a nice way to play together, that would be good. I'm still on a call, so I gotta go. Oh, I see. That's how that happened. Well, I'm on a call right now. If you need some help, you can go talk to mom. Okay. Try to keep the peace. Okay. Very good. Sorry about the YouTube thing. That, yeah, not going to happen. So the handful of you who are here today are the only ones who get this. Yeah. I don't know if Maxime, are you here? It doesn't even make sense for me to answer questions that from people who aren't even here. So, but I'll answer it for your benefit. It's kind of a, oh yeah, there's Emmer answered that question earlier about the file structure. Thank you for posting that. Yeah, so I kind of talked about this a little bit, whereas basically I use it sometimes, I don't always use it. Just because it's an advanced pattern doesn't mean you should always use it. That's, yeah. I use it when I need it. All right, I think that I did it. I answered all the questions that were in here. Unfortunately, lots of the people who are here won't get that, so that's sad. But thanks for hanging out, everybody. Any last questions before I take off?
Yeah, this is about the run only pending timers function that you stuck in the, I think it was after each of those timeout tests. So the test passes even without that. Do you have any more like reading material about that, or just a shorter explanation of what it does?
Sure. So in your specific use case, you're not setting a timer. You're keeping track of a date, which is fine. Which, by the way, I just realized or thought about this, but the way that you're keeping track of that date is you're putting into state. But if you're not rendering it and you're only referencing it in a use effect like you are there, then you probably don't need to put it in state. You could actually use a ref, and the benefit of using a ref is updating that value won't trigger a re-render. So you could switch over to a ref if you want. It's probably working fine as it is. But anyway, so let's imagine a scenario where you do a set timeout, and then inside of the callback for the set time, or maybe you're doing an interval or something, and then inside of that callback, you do some state update. So let's say that you run through your test and you finish, and that timeout was set, but your test is finished before that timeout evaluates its callback or whatever. Let's say that inside of that callback, there's a really bad thing that happens. Like somebody made a typo and now like the world is going to war or something really bad is happening. So if you leave out that run all pending timers in that after each, you'll never know that that bad thing is happening from your tests. But by putting that in, you make sure that that code runs, and presumably it's going to throw some sort of error or something that will trigger a failure for your test, so you can investigate that. So I don't have any additional reading, and maybe that would be an interesting blog post to write about someday, but that's basically the reason. You could be queuing up timeout or timers that don't end up running because your test finishes before they have a chance to. And if they did get a chance to finish, then things would blow up.
Okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Okay. Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody. This was fun. I'm looking forward to doing it again. I don't have another cancellation until Thanksgiving, so I plan on being here on Monday. Okay. We'll see you all in the future.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Ken.
thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.